Hello and welcome everybody to this Azure Synapse Espresso. Today I'm joined by Liliam and we're going to talk about a new topic. This is our first video in a series on dedicated SQL pools. But first of all, Liliam, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Lilian. I'm Lilian Leme from Fast Track team. I work with Stijn, and we help our customers to migrate to the cloud. If you want to know more about our team, please click on the link.
Okay, perfect. So today we're going to talk about dedicated SQL pools, but they used to call it SQL DW, and even before that it was called APS, but that was the on-premise version, and even before that it was called PDW. So it has changed names a lot. So basically there's differences between each version. Also the SQL DW, which was the first cloud version, and the dedicated SQL pool version that we have now, there are some subtle changes between them. But maybe we start off with a very simple explanation. So Lilian, what is a dedicated SQL pool?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's confuse a lot of people because the product change over time. So SQL dedicated pool, which is the same as the former DW offer that you can find in the Azure. It's a distributed system, so you have many SQLs working in parallel and together. So in a few words, you have a control node, which is the brain of this engine, and it will coordinate everything. And below this, you have the computer nodes, which will provide the computational power. So it's like the brain and the muscles. And how much muscles, how much computer power, it depends on your configuration that you choose. And below this, you have the distributions. Distributions is the data. So it's where the data is, and it's distributed against 60 distribution. This is a fixed number of distribution that cannot be changed, I mean.
Yeah, that's been there from, I remember I used to work with PDW. It's been there since PDW and then APS, and then it's the 60 distributions what you get. Now, great. Basically, also, I wanted to ask you the question because I get this question from a lot of customers. So like, what does that DWU actually stand for? Because whenever you create a dedicated SQL pool or SQL DW previously, you're going to be asked like, what DWU level do you choose? And what does that stand for, and what should you choose?
That's a very good question. So it stands for data warehouse units, and it's I/O, CPU, and memory. So it's the power. So how much power do you want for your workload? And you're going to choose this depends on your workload. Depends how much data you have to process, how is the complex of your queries. So that will entirely depend on how do you want to work with this.
Okay, cool. We've also added a link in our description here that basically explains like every DWU level, what the difference is in between, like how much memory you get, how much computational power you get, and all that stuff. That will be in a link below here. And since we're talking today about an MPP system, I just wanted to highlight like the difference between an SMP and an MPP. So like an SMP, let's say you've got a car and you need to move some trunks from with your car from point A to point B. If you have a car and you've got like 20 bags, you can probably make it in 5 round trips, and then you're going to load that car and then push it over. You could also hire a truck and then you could do that in one go. So basically that's SMP and scaling that SMP. So getting more power inside that single system. Now MPP basically breaks that limit, which means that you're no longer limited to the biggest truck that there is. No, you can combine 40 small cars that can each carry one bag and then get those at the same destination at the same time. And that's where a key thing pops up in dedicated SQL pool, which is your distribution. You need to be able to equally distribute that data across those distributions so they can all work together and get there at the same time. But that's something we'll cover in the next video. First of all, thank you very much for joining us, Lilian. If this is the first time you're visiting our channel and if you like the content, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more of this Azure Synapse Espresso or any other Synapse Analytics video, just subscribe to the channel. We've got regular content coming in. And if you want to ask some questions, or if you have some requests for additional videos, just write them in the comments and we'll get back to you. As always, from the Synapse Espresso team, this is Stijn. Thank you very much, and bye.